Imagine this. You're deep within a dungeon, your party is running low on supplies, and a dragon has just devoured your sister. What do you do? For Laios and his companions, the answer is simple yet absurd. Eat the monsters around them. Welcome to Delicious in Dungeon, a series that blends the high-stakes adventure of a fantasy world with the comforting joy of food. But beyond its quirky premise, the series carries a deeper message about survival, camaraderie, and the importance of resourcefulness. In this video, we'll dive into the overall story, explore each arc up to where the anime ended, and uncover the heartwarming, and sometimes challenging, messages that this dungeon-crawling feast has to offer. On the surface, Delicious in Dungeon may look like just another fantasy adventure, but at its core, it's about much more than slaying beasts and collecting treasure. It's about survival, and how the simple act of eating, something we take for granted, can become a symbol of hope, creativity, and even healing. This show, like many great fantasies, puts its characters through trials, but what sets it apart is how they approach those challenges. Instead of looking at monsters as enemies, they see them as dinner. Let's take a closer look at how this unfolds, arc by arc. The Rescue Fallen. Laios, the optimistic but somewhat naive warrior. Marcille, the elf mage with a deep love of order and rules. Chilcha, the skeptical halfling rogue. And Senshi, the dwarf chef who becomes their unexpected guide to monster cuisine. The premise is simple, but immediately engaging. After Fallen, Laios' sister, is swallowed by a red dragon, the team has no choice but to venture deeper into the dungeon to save her. There's just one problem. They have no supplies. And so, they turn to the creatures of the dungeon for sustenance. Here's where the series' unique twist shines. Each new monster they encounter becomes not only a threat, but also a potential meal, with Senshi explaining how to cook them. From giant scorpions to mushroom men, each dish becomes an opportunity for the group to learn and grow. But beneath the humor of turning monsters into gourmet meals, the arc teaches us something profound about adaptability. The dungeon is a hostile place, but the group learns to make the best of it, not by rejecting their environment, but by finding a way to thrive within it. This resourcefulness speaks to the broader theme of how we face adversity in life. Sometimes it's not about fighting against it, but embracing it in creative ways. As the group ventures further, they're forced to confront not just monsters, but their own ideals and values. Enter Kabru, a new character who embodies the traditional adventurer mindset. Kabru is a classic hero figure, focused on the glory of battle, defeating monsters, and adhering to a strict moral code about what's right and wrong. Laios' growing acceptance of eating monsters, and Kabru's strong sense of right and wrong. To Kabru, the idea of eating monsters is unthinkable, bordering on sacrilegious. To Laios and Senshi, it's simply practical. The dungeon is dangerous, and the only way to survive is to make use of every resource. This clash of ideals isn't just a surface-level disagreement. It digs into the heart of one of the series' main themes. Survival isn't black and white. Kabru's view reflects a more rigid, moralistic approach to adventuring, where monsters are evil and must be slain, while Laios' group, especially Senshi, sees monsters as part of the natural world, sometimes dangerous, sometimes nourishing. It's a more nuanced take on the classic fantasy trope of good versus evil, and it forces the viewer to reconsider how we categorize the world around us. Senshi, who often comes across as a simple and cheerful character, actually represents a deeply philosophical stance. Survival requires us to adapt and evolve our beliefs. This arc challenges the idea of holding on to rigid ideals when reality demands flexibility, making it not just a fun adventure, but a thought-provoking reflection on how we deal with the challenges of life. In the Golden Kingdom arc, the group's journey shifts from immediate survival to a deeper exploration of the dungeon's history. They discover ruins and artifacts, from an ancient civilization known as the Golden Kingdom. This arc introduces a rich layer of world building, where we learn that the dungeon isn't just a chaotic series of caverns filled with monsters, but a place steeped in history and the remnants of a once great empire. This arc expands the narrative scope of showing us that the dungeon itself is almost like a living entity with a long history. It also parallels the group's growing understanding of the creatures they encounter. The more they learn about the dungeon's past, the more they realize that monsters aren't just mindless beasts. They're part of a larger ecosystem shaped by centuries of civilization. The meals in this arc become more complex, reflecting the ancient recipes and cultures of the dungeon. Senshi, always eager to experiment, dives into these dishes with enthusiasm, showing that food is not just a means of survival. It's a way to connect with history and culture. Each dish becomes a bridge to the past, allowing the group to appreciate the depth and richness of the world they're navigating. This arc conveys a subtle but important message. Survival isn't just about the present moment. It's about understanding where you come from, respecting the history that shaped your environment, and using that knowledge to move forward. It's a lesson that applies as much to life outside the dungeon as it does within it. After numerous encounters with strange creatures and moral dilemmas, the group finally reaches their goal: the dragon that devoured Phelan. The Dragon Slayer. It's the ultimate test, not just of their combat skills, but of their ability to survive and thrive in the dungeon. The dragon itself represents a literal and figurative monster. It's the danger that has loomed over them since the beginning, but it's also the final barrier between Laios and his sister. The battle is intense, and each member of the party plays a crucial role, using their unique skills and what they've learned along the way to defeat the dragon. But the real heart of this arc comes after the battle, when Phelan is revived. Her return isn't just a happy reunion, it's a bittersweet moment that forces the group to reflect on the cost of their journey. The themes of life, death, and rebirth that have been subtly woven throughout the series come to the forefront here. Reviving Phelan required sacrifice and effort, and her return marks both an ending and a new beginning for the group. The message is clear: survival isn't just about reaching your goal, it's about what you learn along the way. The relationships you build, the skills you acquire, and the knowledge you gain are all part of the journey. And sometimes, the end isn't as simple as victory. It's about understanding the weight of what you've accomplished and how it will shape your future. What makes Delicious in Dungeon stand out isn't just the unique monster cooking concept, but the way it frames food as a symbol for something deeper. Every dish the group prepares becomes a metaphor for their journey, how they survive, how they grow, and how they connect with each other. The act of cooking together is as important as the battles they face. It's easy to see the series as a quirky cooking adventure, but beneath that, it's a story about finding meaning in unlikely places. It's about how, even in a dungeon full of danger, there's room for joy, creativity, and connection. Laios and his party don't just survive, they thrive because they choose to make the best out of the harshest situations, even finding delight in the strangest of meals. Delicious in Dungeon reminds us that survival isn't just about brute strength or defeating enemies. It's about being resourceful, adaptable, and, above all, sharing that journey with others. Whether it's through fighting or cooking, every moment brings them closer, not just to their goal, but to understanding the world and each other better. As the anime continues, we're left eagerly awaiting how the story will evolve, how Laios and his team will keep finding ways to turn the bizarre into the beautiful and the dangerous into the delicious. So grab your spoon and fork, and let's keep this feast going.